Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Hero Movie Podcast, your greatest source for superhero movie discussion in the multiverse. I am your host, Adam Portrais, and I'm joined by Sean Keenan.
Heidi, eyes, lungs, pancreas, so many snacks, so little time.
And we are here today to cover Venom. That's right, it came out in theaters this past weekend, and I didn't look at the numbers, so I don't know how well it did. It had a tough one up against A Star Is Born, and I don't want to, kind of preempt the film find here, but solid flick, that Star Is Born.
Oh, is it now?
Yeah, very much so.
Huh.
But today, we're not covering that one. We're covering Venom. Now, as I'm sure most of you have put together by, about 45 seconds into the program, you did not hear Mr. Bruce Leslie. And that is because he's out there funning and sunning it up in the Orlando, Florida.
That's right.
Oh, my goodness.
The magical wonderland of Orlando, Florida.
I lived there for a year, let me tell you. It's only wonderful for that week that you're there. And once you go home, it stays wonderful in your mind. But if you're there for more than a week, you're really going to start to go, what am I doing here? Why is it so hot? Why do I have to take a shower when I bring in my groceries?
It's so funny, man, because I've got a friend who is fabulously wealthy. Just amazingly wealthy.
Listen, we said we wouldn't talk about Bruce on the show.
No. This person, this family specifically, this family that I'm thinking about, they are loaded, and they lived in South Carolina, and now one of them lives in Orlando. And I thought to myself at the time when it happened, I was like, well, that's probably the perfect place for them, because it's one of those places where. I'm not exactly, because I don't want to put him down, because he's amazingly creative, but he's the kind of creative that works well in an environment where, like the Disney environment kind of creative.
Okay.
And that's exactly what happened. He immediately moved down there because he wanted a job at one of their shops, like whether it was Universal or Disney, or he was even looking into Ripley's at the time. And he ended up at Universal, and he is crushing it, and he already, like, money was never going to be an issue with him, and so he got the place really close to Universal. Anyway, I'm really going off on this Orlando thing. He's the only person I've ever met who moved to Orlando and went, yes, this is exactly where I want to live. He's the only person I've ever met who's like that.
Every day it's like, hey, it's 3 p.m. Well, it's going to rain for 20 minutes. Super hard rain for 20 minutes. It's sunny the rest of the day, so you get that nice hot muggy feeling, and you just want to shoot yourself. Oh, Orlando's great. I love you, Florida. Totally miss it.
That happens in Atlanta quite a bit too.
That's true. Well, Sean, it's come to my email box here that we've got a couple of people over at patreon.com/HMP that have either joined or upgraded their stuff here. So we've got some nicknames to give out and all kinds of fun stuff. Right. Well, we've got one new Patreon supporter at the $3 level. Meet.
Awesome.
Get this. Incognito.
Like it.
So that's this person's handle here on Patreon. So do we want to give, like, I think we should name that person this Incognito. I think we should just give him a regular name. Steve. All right, Incognito, you are now your nickname is Steve. So enjoy that one. He's going to be like, what the crap, dude? I made up a cool name for myself, and you chose Steve. Well, them's the breaks, bud.
You can't choose your own nickname, because if you do, then you end up with something stupid like Chaos Lion or Bloodwind.
Yeah, one's going like, ooh, look at that. No.
Welcome aboard, Steve.
And our good buddy Tim, actually, he is already up at the $20 level and busted it up to $25. So Tim is getting in the highest of ranks here. Tim, I can't remember if we've given you a nickname or not. If we haven't, email me. I can't remember if we gave Tim a nickname or not.
If we haven't, his nickname is the Long Hauler.
Ooh, I like that. That's not bad in a lot of ways. This one just came in. Another one, our good friend Thomas Martin has come in at the $5 level. So yet someone else. Thomas needs himself a nickname, I thought.
Recycle Bill.
Recycle Bill. Ooh. Works on a couple of levels.
There you go.
And also, now this is a big one, Sean. This is a big one. Because for a long-time listener of Preacher, of HMP, of the Film Fight, of everything that we put out, Maria from upstate New York has changed her thing and come up. She said, you know what? I see the other guy up there at the very top. I don't think one man can sit atop the throne alone. He needs someone else up there. So she has jumped all the way up to the $40 a month level.
Holy cow! Holy cow!
Now,
good job by you, Maria.
She told me, hey, she's like, it's for a short time, and I'm like, that's perfectly fine, but you will still get all the riches accorded to you within this realm and everything. So we got a care package to Maria going out in not too awful long. So keep an eye out for that. And you too could help support this show if you go over to patreon.com/HMP. I only work part-time, people. And I try to put as much into this show as I can. And I got the other stuff going on as well. But everything that you do helps put back into this show. I've got to buy a new mixer for one because things have not been going great. But I do thank each and every one of you. Now, I have decided to do one quick other thing here, Sean.
Oh, what? This is a surprise.
Now, we have, for those of you that don't know, that aren't supporters over at patreon.com/HMP, we have a little extra show that we call the Dinger Zone.
It's the Dinger Zone.
And on that show, we take a couple of topics and we talk them out and everything. Usually last about 15 to 20 minutes, depending upon, how verbose that we want to be on said topics.
Sure.
And this, for the month of October and November, anyone at any level is going to go ahead and get those. Normally those are available for the people that are on the 5 and up plan, which is the most popular one, really. But anyone, even if you're down at the $1 level, just to give you an idea of what you're getting, cost you, throw up $1, there you go. We'll throw that in there for you. See what you like. If you dig it, come on down.
And today we had, we talked about some of the movies that we're looking forward to seeing in the upcoming year, and the movies that we're not so hot on.
Yeah.
And so it was a fun discussion.
We also talked about fighting wolves.
We did indeed.
So, if you want to hear how many wolves we think we can take on, that's why you head over to patreon.com/HMP. Get yourself the Dinger Zone at any level, even if you're at the $1 level. Hey, listen to it for a month. That's 4 Dinger Zones, and all the extra content and stuff. If you dig it, consider going up. If not, you can drop off. But I think, honestly, we're putting enough good quality stuff out there. I think you're going to dig what we're doing, man. So
I love doing the Dinger Zone.
Oh, it's a lot of fun. It's honestly, because we used to our pre and post show just used to be us just jib-jabbing about this, that, and the other. But I think having conversations and fights is what we do best on this program. So, we can kind of be like, oh, well, you're an idiot. No, I think this is the way to do it, kind of thing. So, you add fuel to the fire, you're going to get flames, baby. It's just going to happen. So thank you, everyone that supports the show over at patreon.com/HMP. Before we get to the show, Sean, we're almost there, everybody. I know somebody's going, where's the review of Venom? Oh, calm your jets. It's okay. I do want to mention that we do have a quick 5-star review over on the iTunes, but get this, Sean. This is our first review from the Philippines.
Get out of here!
And it's from our boy Jim. 5 stars.
It's 5 stars.
AKA.
Dang it.
Oh boy. And it's pretty simple. Just says awesome.
Done.
That's all it takes. Done and done. You know what I call that? Man of few words. He knows what the words are, and they're important ones. He drops the ones that he needs to. The rest, leave them out. Who needs them?
That's kind of the cool thing about guys who don't talk a lot, or women who don't talk a lot, is that you're like, hey, what's that guy got going on? What's that lady got going on?
Yeah.
Mysterious.
We got people over at different places I go. I want to get in specifics, but you're like something behind them.
Yeah.
Something behind them quiet ones. And usually it's good. It's just like, and then you're like, oh, wow, you're like super smart and introspective, and you just don't want to waste the time with the rest of these rubes. You're smarter than I am.
What's going on with that mysterious Filipino gentleman?
But thank you, man. We really appreciate that, man.
Yes,
awesome.
sir.
At least I'm pretty sure it's the Philippines. Let me check.
All right.
Yes, Philippines. I'm correct. All right, a good deal. I didn't want to screw that one up. But yes, thank you. And if you'd like to get your own 5-star review listed over here, why don't you head on down to the iTunes there, drop us a 5-star review, a.k.a. Humdinger.
Humdinger.
And we'd really, really appreciate that. With that, everybody, let's get into our... Oh, I do want to say one quick thing here. Shout out to a person who works at the theater that I work at, Dominic. He's leaving us, and Dominic has, over the past couple weeks here, become a fan of HMP. Listening to the show and all that kind of good stuff. And he puts the show on like YouTube and stuff, because we put the show up on YouTube as well. If you don't know that and you don't have like access to a podcast thing, you can always look up Hero Movie Podcast on YouTube. We post the audio for the show on there, so check that out if you likes.
Nice.
And so he's doing that while he's like playing video games or doing whatever. Good background noise, and I'm sure he's gonna be listening to this as he's driving down to Charleston. So Dominic, best of luck to you, buddy.
Charleston's a great town.
With that, let's get into it. Here is the trailer for Venom.
Thank you for bringing us collectively to this moment. It is a moment that so many have dreamed of claiming. History starts today.
The guy you work for is an evil person.
I don't work for him. My firm works for him. Are you gonna behave yourself tomorrow?
I told you I'm gonna do my job. I'm a reporter. I follow people that do not want to be followed. What about the allegations that you recruit the most vulnerable for tests that end up killing people?
Your time to go.
You finished, Mr. Brock?
Was that a threat? You had to learn how to hide in plain sight. I'm pretty good at it. But you suck. Whoever you are.
I work at the Life Foundation, and I need your help. We found something. We call them symbiotes. Carlton Drake believes that the union between human and symbiote is the key to our evolution.
I'm feeling really sick. I'm hearing a voice. Eddie. You're not real. You were just in my head.
I'm gonna need Mr. Drake's property back.
I don't know. Why would we do that? If you're gonna stay, you will only hurt bad people.
The way I see it, we can do whatever we want. Do we have a deal?
Are you willing to sacrifice the one thing you hold most dear? You should be extremely afraid. What the hell are you?
We are Venom.
All right, everybody, that was the trailer for Venom, our new release review of this week. Here's the IMDb plotline. As we know, IMDb always 100% correct in everything they say and or do. When Eddie Brock acquires the powers of a symbiote, we'll talk about that in a second, he'll have to release his alter ego Venom to save his life. This is starring Tom Hardy, Michelle Williams, Riz Ahmed, Scott Hayes, Reed Scott, put that one together, Jenny Slate, and more. Sean, we don't have a Bruce Leslie here, but you know what? I'm not going to let that stop us.
Good.
Because I've got too many icons on the screen. I normally have my desktop much cleaner than this. Here we go. Dang it, that's the mail time. Wait, here it is.
It's time for Bruce's comic book connection.
Oh, it's almost as if I did that guitar myself. Go ahead.
Despite how impossible it seems to come up with a new idea in comics, Venom was just that. Something new, therefore, was immediately imitated with other symbiotes like Riot, Scream, Agony, and of course, Carnage. Something everyone should already know, but I must say to make my point, is that Todd McFarlane is a revolutionary toy maker. So, in summary, before you dare say Venom, a character created by a coalition of kid and toy maker is lame. Ask a kid who is obsessed with action figures what he or she thinks, and remember, no matter what you think, they matter more than you do. Also, please add that I wrote this via text while in line at an amusement park. So if anybody thinks I'm not legit, consider this me flexing on them while sipping a butterbeer.
Oh, the Universal Studios flex. Watch out, kids. He's going to get on you. I don't even know if I mentioned who the director of this film is. Ruben Fleischer, who people might know from things such as Zombieland, which was actually quite good.
Actually, this is how it starts. I completely misread that.
Oh, well,
Yep.
It's time. Wait, once again. Good. Dang it! All right, go ahead. I screwed up. My time. It's gone.
Time for Bruce's comic book connection. Venom started with Spider-Man wearing a black suit. That idea was spawned by a child, a kid around 11 years of age, who was paid an oddly specific amount that I'm sure was determined by a lawyer as at least you could pay a kid and not get sued. Later, Todd McFarlane took the black suit a step further and had it become an alien symbiote Spider-Man could only get if his back was totally not religious metaphors.
Yeah.
I see.
There's a misspelling in there, yeah.
With totally not religious metaphors, church bells. Eddie Brock, who was the West Coast anti-Peter Parker, bonded with the symbiote and became Venom. And that's your comic book connection for this week.
Bang on. Bruce, come back.
Yeah, I really screwed that up. I'm sorry, buddy.
So, if you at home can edit it together the way that Bruce had sent it to us via text message, let us know.
Yes, please.
Let us know if you've made that all together. Now, Sean, let's talk about our kind of Venom knowledge at this point, because I think that's something that we need to get into. Before we get to this movie proper and everything, what were your kind of basic thoughts on Venom well before this movie?
Well, when I was a kid, because Venom and the black costume and all that stuff came out when I was a kid. Like I was in the perfect age range for this to happen, where, Spider-Man had really great villains already, but then Venom came out. First it was the black costume, and then it was like his costume was killing him. And it made it amazing. And like Bruce says, it really is an original idea. It was so different and so neat. And so I really liked Venom when he first shows up in Spider-Man 300. Like that was a really great time. However, what started happening, also like Bruce said, is that they completely played this thing out to death, to where every couple of issues Venom shows up, and then they know that you're getting sick of Venom, so then there's spawns of Venom. And so you have all these other characters that are symbiotes, and they're not nearly as fun. Although I do have to say, when that second one came out, when Carnage first comes out, Carnage was different. Like Carnage was because he's just such a tornado / force of nature, that it was a neat idea, and it was a different idea. But, like everything else, then because they kind of revitalized the symbiote thing, then they just completely symbiote everything to death.
Throw a symbiote on it.
Yes, exactly.
Hold on, Sean.
Come on.
Breaking news. Hello.
Hey, are you still recording?
Yes, we are. You are on live, sir. We've just gone over your so intelligent comic book connection. I tell you what, everybody, this is a surprise. We didn't know this was going to happen.
Well, it's also like an hour past when we normally start, so I didn't know it was going to happen either.
That's true, and also I don't have Sean on the line. Hold on, let's get it all connected. Well, welcome back to the show, there, Bruce. It's good to have you. This is a giant surprise to everyone.
Yes, it is.
Hello.
There he is.
Hey, there he is.
It's in and out, but he's there. Everybody, come on.
Hey, what's going on?
Hey. trying to straighten this whole thing out. Do you still hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Man, I gotta fix this whole thing. I don't know how. Let's try. How about now?
Better.
Much better. Much better.
Yes,
okay, good.
Well, Bruce, we've just gone over your what would we call that, Sean? Astute observation for your comic book connection and everything. And we're just kind of getting on our little history of what we thought of Venom itself. Now,
Cool.
I myself was not really, I mean, I obviously knew Venom and stuff, and but really when he came to super prominence for me and stuff was, when they launched his own book, somewhere got to be in the 90s, I would surmise. How do I know?
Sure.
How do I know it was the 90s? It was a #1 issue, and it had some sort of like weird red holography stuff on it. That's when you knew it was the 90s.
Yeah,
and it was McFarlane. I mean, that's when McFarlane came to prominence.
McFarlane wasn't doing that one
90s.
though. He wasn't doing the first Venom.
No, I thought he was.
Not the solo book.
Okay. My bad.
I want to say
he might have already been an Image at that point,
He was, I believe.
Because Image is right around 93 in it.
He's talking about the Lethal Protector book, that Venom Lethal Protector or whatever.
Yeah.
But,
garbage. It was garbage.
Hey, here's the thing. Mark Bagley's art was really good in it. The story was garbage, but Bagley's art was it's still my favorite Spider-Man artist, I'll say that.
Bagley's still a top-notch Spider-Man artist.
Yeah.
Sure. So, but yeah, I didn't, Venom is not something that I loved or craved or really thought would make a great character. Bruce, is that something that you've kind of longed for or anything?
Not at all, especially not for a standalone.
And that's what I was getting to, is that, Venom was just such a breath of fresh air when he first came out. But then by the mid 90s, I hated Venom. Like, Venom got to a point where it was like, man, they're still monkeying around with this stuff. Enough. Let's go to something else.
Venom was kind of like the Spider-Man of the 90s.
Yeah.
I mean, not Spider-Man, but the Punisher of the 90s. He's like one of those that's good in the Spider-Man book, like Punisher was, but then when he starts getting too much of his own attention, it just doesn't work.
Agreed. Totally agree. And it was one of those things, too, where, like they start putting him in other books, not just his solo book, but like he would fight Daredevil, and it was just like, man, this character is not that,
Yeah, not at all.
Make him special. Make him like, because they kind of figured that out with the Joker. Because remember, the Joker was somebody like they kept trying to like muscle him into every single thing Batman was doing, and then he started showing up in like Wonder Woman and all these other books. And they were like, and they figured it out where they were like, you know what? The Joker's special. Let's make him special.
And there was a brief period in time when they even maybe hinted at making the Joker an anti-hero, kind of like they've done with Harley. And
Right.
Thank goodness they were smart enough not to do that. But that started working with Venom when he passed away from Eddie Brock. Like, Venom with Eddie Brock just didn't work for me as an anti-hero. But
Right.
once he passed on to Flash Thompson, it worked so well. Like,
Yeah.
I think Venom's better with Flash just because of the missing legs and everything else. It just kind of makes sense why he would need that symbiote.
Yeah.
But with Eddie Brock, it only worked as a villain that took over, like a Jekyll and Hyde or a Frankenstein's monster or a old school werewolf. I mean, it was kind of a new take on an old school, like, Universal movie monster.
Yeah, it was neat. That's a really good way of putting it. And they also have that countdown with him with Flash Thompson also, where he can only be Venom for X amount of time.
Yeah, that's something they've abandoned recently,
have.
the best I can tell. But man, that was a cool concept. I like that.
I like that too.
Now, let's get into the movie a little bit, because they do, really kind of, they gave us a Venom movie, but did they give us a Venom movie? I don't know.
Can we speak generally about this movie first?
Yeah, let's talk about the movie in general.
Because if I can start, if you guys don't mind, because this is
Please.
This is where I have the most to say about it. I did not make my opinion known because I didn't know, but I was guessing that this movie was going to be wretched. I thought that this movie was going to be one of the worst superhero movies of the year.
And, Rotten Tomatoes didn't do anything to quell those fears with like a 26, 25%, something like that.
Oh, really? I didn't even look at that.
Oh, yeah, they are low.
I didn't have any idea about that, but what I didn't see what they were going to do with this is that this movie is so fun.
Yes. That's a good way to put it. Now, I don't know that if you were like going to see a comic book faithful movie that you would be happy with this, but if you just wanted to see like a cool kind of / sci-fi supernatural type movie, it can be a lot of fun.
There's a lot of I'm sorry, go ahead, Adam. Yeah,
the basic thing that I've been telling people, because I saw it like Thursday night, so everybody's just kind of like, oh, what'd you think? People want to know what the comic book nerd thinks, and I was just like, I think this is a pretty good movie. I just don't know, like, I wouldn't call it a great Venom movie, but it's a pretty decent movie.
Well, the movie that they're making here, because it's basically 3 different parts, this movie. So one, they basically made Venom the Incredible Hulk.
Yeah, very much so.
And so that's one part of this, So like he doesn't know what to do. Like there's a whole lot of, oh my God, why did I do this? So that's the Incredible Hulk part. Number 2 is that you have sort of a Midnight Run vibe to this. Because these two beings are constantly running away from everything, and they don't necessarily like each other very much, and that part is great. Great.
I never got the Midnight Run part of it, but that's an awesome observation.
Yeah, I mean, it just feels like you have basically a buddy comedy, but it's the same person, and it's such a neat concept. And the third part to this, which is the secret ingredient, in my opinion, is the Bourne Identity mixture in this, where when Eddie Brock first gets Venom, it feels like what made Bourne Identity so great was Jason Bourne didn't know why he was able to beat all these people up, and so he's amazed by what he can do. And there's a lot of that happening with Eddie Brock as well, where he's like, oh my God, I just did that thing. How did I do that? Like stuff like that.
Yeah.
All 3 of these elements make this movie so fun to watch and such a lovely surprise, because I thought this was going to be a slog, and it's really, really fun.
Now, I had a little bit of a heads up because my wife and daughter and youngest son went to see it on Thursday, and I didn't get to see it till Friday, and they told me that they loved it, which is not something I expected.
Definitely not.
But so I had a little bit of a heads up. I did go see it. The first act is a little peculiar. They try to drop an Easter egg here and there. Yeah. But the one thing that kind of struck me as taking some time to warm up to was Tom Hardy's performance as Eddie Brock.
You are not wrong, man.
But because, Eddie Brock is a respected journalist in San Francisco. So I don't know why he talks like a brain-damaged guy from Queens.
It is a little strange.
I mean, he honestly sounds like in the less politically correct times, we would have a word for him that we don't really use now. But he honestly sounds like maybe he's a boxer who was hit in the head one too many times and decided to become a journalist.
It's the very Tom Hardiness of him in this role, because he loves doing weird voices for everything. That wasn't always the case.
Yeah, it's just like it's something interesting in particular about it, and like almost like I really think that in his head he's super creating these characters.
Yes.
Now, Adam, maybe you can help me, but do you remember that Mickey Ward movie about the boxer, Irish Mickey Ward?
Yeah.
I think it might have just been called The Fighter, but I get that confused because there's like but Christian Bale played the older brother.
Yes.
Oh yeah, The Fighter.
Yeah, that was him and
now,
Mark Wahlberg.
Who actually played the lead in that?
Mark Wahlberg.
Well, I feel like Tom Hardy is doing a better version of Mickey Ward than Mark Wahlberg, but it's still not a good version of Eddie Brock.
That makes sense. I like that.
The weird part too is that the voice he's doing doesn't work when he's being a normal guy. Like he's going on a date with his lady. Like that's when it rubs me the wrong way. But the second where things start happening in this movie, it does work. And
he does do the voice of the symbiote.
Yes. Oh, that's him too.
Yeah, and it sounds really good.
Of course, I was wanting the symbiote to sound like high-pitched Bane, just given the history of him doing special voices, but I was disappointed.
I did not know that.
Helium before he goes into the booth.
Yeah.
Like he's super method.
Man, this is so awkward for me. I was recording in my hotel room where my kid was watching Bob's Burgers. I come out in the hallway and there's an echo, and I'm like by the elevators waiting until people get off and see me sitting on the floor like a hobo. But I'm making the most out of it. So, sorry guys, I might be a little more reserved than usual this week.
Hey, I'll say this much: we've never had 3 different types of audio on the show at one time.
Well, I've never called in on phone before because I'm doing the Sean Keenan.
And guess where I'm calling from this week?
In your truck.
Exactly, on my phone.
I just need to go outside, smoke a cigarette while a crow is crowing or a rooster is crowing, and I'm like right there.
Same basic thing. Yeah, man. Now I will say this: this will be the one of the highest praises I give to the people that worked on this movie. And it sounds stupid, but I think it really is smart. And someone was like, "Hey, wait a minute," and thought about something. And that is the fact that once this symbiote comes across his body and everything, he becomes the Venom that we all, for the most part. I've got a few quibbles on that. But it comes to be Venom and everything. And thank goodness they did not put a spider across his chest and back.
Yeah.
Do you know how happy I was that wasn't there?
Do it. It wouldn't work in this movie if they did it. But it also doesn't feel like Venom. Now, in the comics, Riot is gray without a spider. And I felt like Venom and Riot both kind of looked like Riot in this movie.
They did both look pretty similar. So, I mean, that was one thing that I was kind of glad they didn't lean too much into. And this become just a giant CGI monster fight giant CGI monster fest. I mean, there's a little of it, but it's not like 3/4 of the movie.
It's better than Hulk versus Abomination, which I still say is the most puzzlingly boring fight I've ever seen.
Yeah,
how is that fight
awesome.
boring? I can't explain it, but it is.
And
I can explain it. I know what it is.
Go ahead.
There's no weight.
No, absolutely.
Yeah, that's it.
And that's what kind of stinks is because Louis Leterrier had done like an amazingly good, live action fight film before that, Guild District B13. I think that's what it's called. But it was like, prison flick, and that flick was awesome. And so like, oh, this guy's really going to get action. But the problem is that CGI they hadn't quite got that CGI working just yet, not to this level.
Yeah.
Now, how do you guys feel about a Venom that's not rooted in any way to Spider-Man?
I don't like it, but I'll say this worked 1,000 times more than I thought it would have. I thought I was going to just be really crossing my arms and going, harumph, I don't like this. But given what they did and how they did it, it works well enough into where you're like, all right, I'll let you get away with it. If you obey the rules that you have made up in your own world, and we say this all the time, I'm fine with it.
Yep.
Yeah, and that was kind of the problem that I had at first was how do I embrace this character? Like the name kind of makes sense in contrast to Spider-Man or in relation to Spider-Man. As a standalone, why would he pick that name? But then again, why would any of them pick their names?
Yeah.
My name is Rubik's Cube. Ugh. And you're like, that's not scary.
But something I wish they had explored a little bit more. Number one, the movie's fun because the action's fun and you don't really have to get caught up with explanations, which they don't. Probably good that they didn't. But one question I had is, what is it that makes Eddie a better fit for Venom than the other people? Because all the other entities that they tried to bond with, it just didn't work out so well.
Now, I'll say this because I think this is one of the things that I find that, and I just happened to think this because I was flipping through the channels and Amazing Spider-Man 2 was on, right? And we remember that horrible part in Amazing Spider-Man 2 where we get the kind of recorded on disc or whatever flashback to Peter's father talking about how, hey, basically, you're going to be the only person that can actually, benefit from having this spider bite, blah, 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 blah. Basically making sure that Peter was the only one. If this bit, Angelo beside him, Angelo would not have the power of Spider-Man. That kid would probably just have to go to the hospital.
And they did similar things with Hulk where specific stuff about his DNA worked with the Gamma that they exploited later on. And there's been other characters, but a lot of them it's been like even RoboCop went down that road where it turns out there was something special about that particular cop because every other cop they tried it with, it failed.
Yeah. But so I don't like the idea of like, oh, it's like it's only going to be able to do this and that one. And at the same time, too, when we've got the other one coming over from, somewhere in Asia, I forget where, going through several different people and stuff, they never had that rejection problem, which I thought was interesting and weird. Can they just
I think the
sense
symbiote knew to leave. I think the symbiote knew to leave just before they got to the rejection.
And they do explain it, too.
And it didn't have to be hyper-specific, but there could have been some explanation, like Eddie Brock got a really bad case of TB, and the doctors didn't think he would pull through as a kid, but he did, and something about that made him a good fit. Or, it could be comic book logic. It doesn't have to be bulletproof, but even just like only people with an absent appendix come up with something ridiculous. I don't care what it is, but just come up with something kind of simple to explain why Venom and Eddie have this bond that Venom couldn't just jump from person to person like Riot did. I mean, Venom has a love for Eddie that he doesn't want to bond with anybody else.
As long as you're in the month you were born in ends in Airy, you're fine.
They explain,
seriously, it could have been simple, but anything would have worked.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, they do explain it in the movie. At one point, Venom turns to Eddie and he goes, "You did not find me, I found you." And so, to me, that's the explanation that the symbiotes are the ones finding the people that they can live in long enough to keep going from body to body, or like with Eddie's got that deal with Venom where as long as I eat enough bad people, I'm not going to have to eat away at you. That's
an interesting statement because he does kind of like the people that we do see like attempt to the being forced upon them. They're all fighting it. No one kind of wants this, and it's not like you're right that symbiote did not seek this person out. That person was given to them. And if the symbiote goes, no, this is not the right match for me, I'm going to make these decisions, not you, Mr. Scientist Man.
Right. Good point.
I like that.
There's a lot of, and don't get me wrong, there's a lot about this movie that's dopey, but there's a whole lot more to recommend it. And one of the main things to me is that if you have the wrong actor playing the Riz Ahmed role, that character, if you've got, if you have a lesser than playing Carlton Drake, is there a name less memorable than Carlton Drake?
Not much.
And a name that I would dare say they cast against your expectations with how they cast it, and it worked really well.
It does. It did completely. And Riz Ahmed adds so much gravitas to that role, because if you even bring in, I don't know, like let's say Kurt Russell, right? If you bring in Kurt Russell to play this role, he is going to ham it up in that role, and it's not going to be nearly as good of a movie as it is with Riz Ahmed in it. And I love Kurt Russell, but Riz Ahmed is basically perfectly cast in this role to me.
Yeah. It's here's what I would have expected. Like traditional casting would be the guy that plays. I think his name is Gavin on Silicon Valley, like the guy that's sort of the Microsoft type guy. You know what I'm talking about?
I do. I know exactly who you mean.
Like, I think that's what, I mean, he plays essentially this kind of Silicon Valley billionaire role. Like, you expect them to cast someone like that. And going with this guy, it just really worked for me.
It does. And having him still be so young, and having him, and usually I don't like that kind of thing because I'm old. But
me too.
But he works great in this role, to the point where he's doing a lot of the heavy lifting in this movie.
Yeah. Now the only small complaint I have about that is just because the character slightly reminded me of Tony. I'm going to say Ravioli because that's not his last name, but it's Ravioli, something along those lines. But it feels like Ravioli, who was in Spider-Man: Homecoming. For half a second, I'm just like, is this?
Oh, you're talking about the guy that
kid?
played Flash. You're talking about the guy that played Flash.
No. The guy in the Spider-Man: Homecoming.
Yeah, that played Flash.
Oh,
like
yeah,
there was
I'm sorry.
an Indian.
Yes. My brain was in a weird place. Yes.
Yeah, there was like they changed Flash's type to an Indian type person. I don't know the right way to say that, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And talk about confusion. What if Flash was Venom and this guy was Riot?
Ooh.
But I don't know.
But he doesn't do a weird voice.
That's true. What about the female Anne Winnig or whatever, the female love interest of Eddie Brock?
Michelle Williams, yeah.
What you got? Yeah, I kind of like Michelle Williams a lot of times. Wasn't exactly a fan of her performance here.
No, I don't know why. She just I didn't connect with the character too much in any way, shape, or form.
But I really liked the boyfriend who totally played it like what's his name from Ant-Man? The Italian guy that plays Scott Lang's wife's new husband. Right. Still like cool with the ex. Right. Like he oh man, it's killing me because I should know that guy's name.
Bobby, what's his name?
Cannavale.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's killing me. But he's playing it kind of like Bobby Cannavale, where yeah, he likes the lady. He's not threatened by the superhuman X. And at the same time, he's even helpful. I mean, it paints a picture of what a perfect world moving on would be like that never happens in the real world. And I at least enjoy seeing it in the movies, I guess.
Yeah. And the other part, too, that I really like is that there's an expectation with a movie like this that they're just going to go the easy way out with everything, and they don't do that in this movie. You know, there's a bunch of quick exits if they want them. Like for instance, you know, this being the first, for instance, is the guy playing Dr. Dan. Dr. Dan is not terrible.
No. Yeah. Yes, Dr. Dan is terrible. Both are
Dr. Dan
right.
Lewis, though, Dr. Dan Lewis is not a terrible character. And they do that a lot of times in this movie, because not only do they have that, but they all
elevator going up, and then just an Aerosmith song starts.
I'm sitting at the elevator bay, so people are staring at me. But yeah, a nice family just walked past.
Ask them if they've seen Venom.
They do that a lot in this movie, where they have a lot of easy outs and they don't take them. Like for instance, when you know Eddie Brock in this movie does something terrible to his girlfriend. I mean that's awful what he did.
Yes, it's reprehensible. But they never quite connected the dots. I mean, I understand it's probably easy for her to figure out what happened, but they didn't finger paint it for a child, like showing us exactly how she found out that he did that, you know? And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. It's either good or bad, but I don't know which. It's definitely atypical.
For sure. But and that's what I like about it, is that it's not, you know, it's not like mistaken heroicism. It's he did something bad. Like that is an awful thing, betraying your loved one's trust. And he did that.
Yes.
And that is not an easy that is not an easy out, and they do that a few other times, but those are the two things that I can think of in this movie right now, where you're just like, oh hey, that's a nice touch that they didn't like, you know, they don't show him saving a cat. You know, I was very sure there was going to be something big with that cat, and it never happened.
I actually thought he was going to eat the cat. I thought we were going to have like a Shape of Water kind of moment there.
Well, they didn't, and it was nice that they didn't.
Yeah.
And you know, you have Jenny Slate in this movie too, and Jenny Slate doesn't Jenny Slate it up like she did it. I thought she was terrific in this movie, and there's something about her where you're just like, oh wow, that it's the anti Harold Kumar. Is he Harold or Kumar?
Whichever.
Cal Penn.
Yeah.
It's the anti-Cal Penn in Superman, where he doesn't even have a speaking line in that movie. And then you have somebody like Jenny Slate in this movie, who is a very, very funny comedian. And she doesn't do anything funny. She's just really good in it. You know?
I was also a little surprised they had her straight with the other symbiotes because they had the color scheme, so you definitely know Scream and Agony were the other two, in addition to Riot and Venom. And
oh. Sounds
okay,
like
good. So that's not just me.
Yeah, no, it's not just you. It's his whole spiel going down.
Yeah.
Anyhow.
Sorry. Like,
Yep.
Man, look, it is a special treat just having you here, man.
okay. Well, anyway, I'm surprised they didn't bring out the other two symbiotes because it was clear which two they were.
Bruce, call back in.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Things get a little bit rough when you're out in the wild there, and I know no one else knows that more than you.
That is very true, man. I keep flashing back to the nightmare that was talking about Infinity War when I was in Charleston. I had no gear. I had nothing. All I had was my phone on me and in a very loud hotel room.
Any better?
That's a little better,
way
yes.
better. Way
Any better?
Yeah.
Okay.
Much better.
Well, I went back into my room where we may have a little ambient noise from the TV, but that might be better than whatever was happening out in the hallway by the elevator.
Oh, you're all right, man.
They turned on the little Faraday cages that they got going on in the hallways. They're just like, listen, people are out talking, flip them on.
But yeah, I was surprised that the other two symbiotes didn't take form because to me, it looked pretty clear that was Agony and Scream.
Can we talk about this for a second? I'm sorry, I've got to derail this for just a second because things have been going wild and crazy here, and I think we need to talk about it. And I think that this movie has all convinced us that the word symbiote is a thing, and it is not. Can we talk about this for a second? I feel like Joan Rivers. Can we talk about this?
Let's talk about it. Let's talk about the word
It's just
symbiote.
symbiote.
Yeah.
Why the symbiote? Everyone in this movie is rocking the symbiote, and I'm hearing that word come up more and more because obviously it's in the parlance right now because it's wrong.
There's an E on the end of the word. So, like a lot of comic book words, they're only spelled, but there's no phonetic direction given. So what happens is like the fans, the readers decide symbiote is the way to say it. And maybe even the person who wrote it, who doesn't understand the word he's using, says symbiote. But if you wrote that word down, put it in front of somebody with a PhD in biology, they're going to pronounce that symbiote because that is kind of like how you would say it. And it's symbiotic when you just use it as an adjective. It's symbiotic, but the creature would be a symbiote. But us readers, we say symbiote. Just like we say magneto when a physicist would say magneto. But the fandom has its way to go. And I think that maybe the director and the actors just weren't in the right way of fandom to mispronounce the word the way that we like it mispronounced.
So I don't know what it costs to bring people back for ADR, but the internet blew the heck up when the first trailer came out and they said symbiote 3 times, and we were just like, oh, this is not right. And then they were just like, no, screw you, you hippie nerds. We're going ahead and we're putting it in there. How about them apples? And we're like, I don't like it.
And I come from the school of thought, man. If you like to say magneto and I say magneto, I am not going to yuck your yum or harsh your buzz, man. Say the word how you want to say it. It's not interfering with the story to me.
Yeah, me neither.
I mean, now, it's going a bit too far if we saw the new movie where everybody's talking about Spiderman. Spiderman wouldn't work for me.
His name is Lance Spiderman. He's the newest character on the block.
Hey, Spiderman's Bagels here.
That should be a thing. Okay, that's the next T-shirt. You want to get up to the $40 level for the T-shirt? Patreon.com/HMP. Spiderman's Bagels is gonna be the next shirt. I got 4 days off. I'm making the shirt.
It's right up there with the knockoff toy I saw that was called Covered in Spiders, Man, and it was a knockoff Spider-Man with spiders all over him.
You should get that for your collection, Sean. By the way, can I put up a stick and have my protest for bring back Angry Gay Spider-Man? It was some of my favorites.
If I was not working an 80 to 90 hour week, then yes, I would totally do that.
We're gonna backlog these at some point.
That's where we're at now.
But here's the thing. I'll be honest. Like I was surprised with this movie. The set pieces in it are fun. Nothing's too wild and crazy and outlandish. I love the fact that we don't have a world to the level that some of these things are, a world changing thing and blah blah blah. Blue beam spits to the sky or down from the sky, whatever you wish. We don't have that going on. For a big superhero movie, it's also somewhat intimate, which is nice.
Yeah.
Yes,
I
like that.
I like the fact that Venom and Eddie Brock and the motorcycle don't become one. I was so certain that was going to happen, and I'm very, very glad.
Hey, had this been 1997, you could be darn tootin' that would have happened.
For sure, but it didn't, and I was very happy for that.
Now, they've already signed all these people to a sequel. Like, they pretty much announced before opening weekend was over that we would get a Venom 2. What do you guys think about that?
I think it's great, but I think that's a huge mistake to come out publicly and say that. I keep it quiet. You know, I love the cliffhanger in this. I don't know how you guys feel about it. I thought it was amazing.
I thought it was pretty good. Now, I do want to say this. I mean, Venom this is an October record, if memory serves here. Venom is #1 this weekend with an estimated $80 million. That's huge.
That's solid for this movie in this time of year. I mean, that's maybe a little bit better than expected, man.
I think so.
I mean,
I'd have put this at the 50 to 60 range myself.
Me too.
I think that puts it above like the X-Men movie category. You know what I mean? Like, it's not quite Spider-Man level yet. It's not, even though we don't like the Warner Brothers movies, they have good opening box office.
Can't deny the box office.
This probably puts it above the X-Men movies, but not quite at Spider-Man level, but enough to guarantee that they're going to work this character into whatever comes out of Spider-Man after Homecoming. And I'd be surprised if Tom Hardy's not at least at an end credits scene for Far From Home.
Right.
If and they do that, like, again, while it may not be the Venom that we all know, I wouldn't mind seeing this Venom in a regular Spider-Man movie. I wouldn't be opposed.
And you know, they've got a good. They played a little. As far as I could tell, they played a little soft on the timeline, which I think was a good move, because after Infinity War Part 2 or Avengers 4, whatever you're going to call this fourth Avengers movie, when Tom Holland is brought back to life, that would be a good time to maybe link him up with these symbiotes in some fashion and tie those two worlds a little closer together.
Yeah.
Not a bad plan. Let's
hold on. Silas has something to say real quick.
Oh, please.
Please.
Here, Silas, tell him about what you just told me. I'm going to give him the phone.
There's leaked footage of Tom Holland in a black Spider-Man suit.
Really? I did not know.
Get out of here.
That's what he says, man. The guy knows what he's talking about. But we need to talk about the mid-credits and the final thing before we go into our closing routine.
Sure.
So first off, man, Cletus Cassidy. What'd you think? First, the idea of Cletus Cassidy, then the casting, and then the execution. Because they're three different conversations.
For sure. Let me start. So Cletus Cassidy showing up in this. Let's start with the character himself. Not a big fan of Cletus Cassidy. But I am a massive fan of what they've done in this movie. Where they've already upped the stakes. Because you got Woody Harrelson, who is going to kill it as Carnage.
Well, I mean, Woody Harrelson, without seeing the movie, I know very much what performance he's going to give, because these days he gives one, but I like it.
Well, and here's the thing. At the end, when he brings that head up and you're looking into those Woody Harrelson eyes, all you see is that exact performance he's going to give, even though you don't hear a single word.
That's true.
And I would be remiss if I didn't wonder which McDonald's he stole that Ronald McDonald wig from. Because I like extremely ridiculous things. So don't take it as an insult when I say that wig is just straight up ridiculous. I've never seen a more ridiculous version of Woody Harrelson or Ronald McDonald. Like, something about it. like is totally wrong, and I'm cool with it.
Yeah, me too.
They sat down, they had a meeting, and they were just like, hey, look, we're going to put this big giant red wig on Woody. And they're like, we've known he's bald since like 1988, right?
and then my son heard me say, I can't tell the difference between Cletus Cassidy and Ronald McDonald. And he said, easy. One's a serial killer and one's Cletus Cassidy.
Pew, 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 pew.
Let me ask you a question, Bruce. How good is that kid at writing comic book connections?
I'll tell you what, man. I am grooming my replacement like nobody's business. The guy knows more about symbiotes than I do. He's my go-to guy for symbiote. And notice I'm saying it the way they do in the movie. But
yeah, it's really starting to cheese me.
Lore, symbiote lore. I go to him. He knows them well. But I don't know. I think we pretty much say it all. That it's just like they don't even try to sell that wig.
No.
And Cletus Cassidy's supposed to be ridiculously mentally unstable. I like it because really, if you're going to turn Venom from a villain to a hero or even an anti-hero, Carnage is the only villain that can do that right.
Yeah,
Riot doesn't quite do it right.
But
Riot, I feel like I'm watching Transformers and it's Optimus Prime versus Megatron, whereas Carnage, you get the more human side of it.
Yeah.
But you know, with as ridiculous as Woody Harrelson in that red wig looks, Cletus is so unstable and nuts that it just totally works.
Agreed.
I can't elaborate more than just to say that everything that's wrong with it is what's right with it.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I think that we're reaching a tipping point here where if Samuel L. Jackson is not in the movie, Woody Harrelson will be. And I'm totally fine with that. I like both those actors. It's just one of those things where it's like, oh, well, because Woody Harrelson now is in every single massive like superhero or sci-fi movie, or I mean, he's in Star Wars. He's in Venom. He was in the Planet of the Apes movies.
Hunger Games flicks.
Hunger Games. He's in literally everything that Samuel L. Jackson is not in.
Glass Castle.
What's that?
It's a good movie, man.
Is it?
Glass Castle, Woody Harrelson.
All right.
And the lady that plays Miss Marvel was in it, I think.
Okay. Well, before we get to our actual
should we talk about that cartoon at the very end?
Yes. I almost forgot about that because we get an end credit here like most Marvel movies, except different.
It's for a different movie.
It's just an ad. It's just an extended trailer for a movie that's probably going to be better received in my household than Venom was. And Venom was well received. But this movie is set to knock the roof off my house like nothing has since Spider-Man Homecoming. And that, of course, is the Spider-Verse, where once again my son has confirmed Spider-Ham makes an appearance in Into the Spider-Verse.
And not only that, it's voiced by John Mulaney.
So, boom, there it is.
So good.
So I'm excited for that thing, man. I don't know why.
I'm on the record as saying automatic Dick Grayson any movie with Spider-Ham. So they must have heard that.
We've been doing this show for 5 years, and finally something will have come from it, from our casting and wishes and demands of the industry. Follow our lead. Now they're doing it.
Yeah.
But I am excited. The animation style looks wonderful to me, and I love the concept. I've read both the Edge of the Spider-Verse comic series and the Amazing Spider-Men series, which kind of set it all up. Yeah, I'm in, man. I am in for a dime. I'm in for $1, a pound, a donut, whatever.
Me too. I can't wait to see it.
Which is rare because people at home, listen, this is monumental when Mr. Keenan agrees with me on an animated feature.
He wants to go see it in an animated flick, everybody. What gives?
Who
knows?
I do. It looks great.
You know what else we like doing over here other than seeing good animated films? We also like to find out how this particular movie relates to one Sylvester Stallone.
Why, thank you, Adam. I have a prepared statement.
Mm-hmm.
Kelly Jones is the costume designer on Venom, and she was the costume designer on a movie called Homefront that was written by one Sylvester Stallone. Kelly Jones started as an actress in Hollywood, starring as Agent Pink in a 2001 short film called The Removers. The movie description is as follows. The removers are all that stands between Earth and evil alien succubi from another dimension.
Of course it does.
Can Agent Silver and Agent Pink stop the intra-dimensional plan to absorb human energy while fighting villainous twin ballerinas and metal babies? Now that is a movie description. It feels like this short film was made by people who either, one, were making a student film and used this weird short film as a calling card, or two, were the kind of high where everything is a really good idea and nothing gets turned down. And why doesn't everyone make movies? It's so easy. My teeth are itchy. Are your teeth itchy? And they all made a weird movie that embarrassed their parents. And whenever anyone asks their parents what they do for a living, all their dad will say is they're trying to find themselves. So Kelly Jones said goodbye to acting and hello to costuming, which in my experience is a department run by people who behave like their hair is on fire. There's also snakes everywhere and everyone's crying. It's the only department where people are constantly fainting. I didn't even know that happened after women stopped wearing corsets, but it does a lot to people in costuming. Being a costumer isn't an easy job because everyone thinks they know something about fashion, but they're wrong because people don't know anything, but think they do. And there you have it, HMPers. This week's Stallone connection is Kelly Jones. Now, Adam, who is definitely not lazy, and Bruce, who is also not lazy, let's review Venom, because they made a Venom movie. Guys, they made a Venom movie, and Spider-Man isn't anywhere in it.
It's like you still try to wrap your head around that thought. It's just insane.
And it's good.
And admit it, Adam, when this was announced, you lumped it in with Gambit as one of those movies that's always talked about, never made. Well, it got made.
Absolutely, I did. Yeah. Absolutely, I did. I actually think that the Gambit movie is kind of like Fox just screwing with everybody, where they're like, let's tell them we're still making that thing.
Oh, you've heard the latest one, right? They're like, no.
Yeah.
This is going to be a romantic comedy. Are you out of your skull?
I feel like, for a long time we were waiting on that Dick Tracy sequel. Now it's the Gambit movie.
Yeah.
That long lost Channing Tatum is now 68 years old, but says he's still willing and ready to play Gambit. Horrible. Well, here on Hero Movie Podcast, we have our own patented Robin rating system. If you'd like to check that out, head on over to Facebook.com/Hero Movie Podcast. It's right there at the top of the screen. And give it a like, why don't you? Bruce, you're in-house. We can't believe it. What is your Robin rating for Venom?
Now, this movie is far from perfect. I think we agree with that. Yeah. And if it had been a whole lot less fun, there was plenty of stuff we could have picked apart and tore this movie into a lot of shreds. Yep. But the bottom line is it was fun. Doesn't have to be perfect if it's fun. And more importantly, it was fun in a way that both the comic book and non-comic book fans in my family enjoyed. That's tough to come by. And, I took my son our birthday weekend involving taking him to Universal Studios. Well, it started by watching Venom in Huntington before we drove to the airport. He had a smile from ear to ear. He actually asked if we could watch the movie again here in Orlando, which we didn't get a chance to do. But if it makes him that happy, it makes me happy. So Tim Drake on this far from perfect but lots of fun movie.
Very nice. Mr. Keenan.
Tim Drake for me also. This is one of those movies that just came from left field to me. It's so surprising that this thing is actually good. I really expected this to be one of the... I honest to goodness thought this was going to be the worst superhero movie of the year. And it's not. It's not even close. Even with what's coming up. Because we still have, 2 more superhero movies coming?
Yeah, so, we have Aquaman and Spider-Verse.
Right. And so it's just so surprising. They dumped this thing in October. Usually the dead season for comic book movies. And it's so funny. And that's another thing about it too. My movie theater, people were laughing a lot.
And you may have discussed this before I came into the conversation, but the fact that they backed from an R to a PG-13 last minute had me thinking it was going to be a mess. That's not something you expect to happen with a good movie.
It's true.
And I can definitely say this. I don't think that this really needs to have an R rating, to be honest.
Yeah,
I don't know that
agree.
it would have helped. I don't know that it would have made it exponentially better in any way. Not really.
It's that weird thing where actually the PG-13 makes it better.
Probably.
Yes. After the fact, I would say they made the right decision, seeing how much my kid enjoyed it. If it was rated R, he couldn't have.
And I can
So I
promise
think
you,
it
if it
was
was R, that 80 million would be closer to the 50-60, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
For me, this one, I'm going a little bit different from you guys, but to me, this is a high recommendation, but I'm giving this a Carrie Kelly.
Okay.
Because I want to put it a little bit off the track, just on account of it's a Venom movie, but it's not, as comic booky Venom as I would really like. But I think a lot of people are really going to have a pretty good time with this movie. And you're right. Everyone assumed this was just going to be garbage, and it's really not. And that's shocking on every level, especially coming from Sony, who wouldn't know their elbow from their posterior. Ooh, I cleaned that up real fast, didn't I? So, but that's. I mean, I can't believe I'm recommending people go see Venom.
Crazy.
I'm just as puzzled as you are. So that is it, everybody. Thank you for joining us yet again on this here podcast. I still can't believe, Bruce, thank you for jumping in, buddy.
Yeah, man, that's awesome.
Hey, I was just expecting to jump in and give my Robin rating. I didn't know I'd get to sit in on most of the show.
Yeah. Well, we had quite a productive Zinger Zone ahead of time, so don't you worry.
Good.
But next week, we're doing something a little bit different. Yes, speaking of those Patreon people, remember how I mentioned them at the beginning of the show and all throughout the show? Because you know what? Those folks actually get to help us pick the movies that we watch. And you'll be able to vote on them on Monday, everybody. We haven't talked about what those things will be, and I haven't written down a list. So, you'll get them when you get them. And then once you vote on that, we'll watch them next week, and that'll be the movie. Sound good? I think it does.
Vote barbed wire.
Vote barbed wire, yes. In the meantime, Bruce,
vote the death of the Incredible Hulk.
Well, I thought we already did that one.
No, we didn't do death.
We did the trial.
Oh, we did the trial one. All right. Well, all right. So barbed wire. Let's just bang out the other two right now. So we got barbed wire, death of the Incredible Hulk. We'll throw Perennial All-Star Ghost World on there.
And Surrogates.
Boom. Done, everybody. So those will be up there for your vote. And like I said, whether you're in at the awesome level of $1 or you're in the awesome, amazing level of $40, which we have two of those at now, Bruce. Did you know that?
Yowza.
It's amazing. You all can vote. Your vote counts the same.
Cool.
So head on over to patreon.com/HMP and do all that kind of good stuff. In the meantime, Bruce, where can we find more of your work on the internet or, hey, maybe real life?
Hey, I'm just directing people to go to Amazon.com and look for Dragon Blinder. Dragon Blinder is the complete Lump Adventures omnibus. It's the entire trilogy contained in one book. It's really the best way to read the story. So if you haven't had a chance yet, you can get that ebook for like $3.99, which is a significant savings over getting all three by themselves. And Dragon Blinder, just read it like one big long book, and I think you'll have a lot of fun. It's 200,000 words, so if it was one book, I'd be like Stephen King writing the long ones.
Very nice. I don't know if I could read a book that big, because I could listen to one. Sean?
You can find me on Twitter at Hero Movie Sean, and you can find me at dogeatpod.com.
Let me tell you, kids, I've been busting it. Sean's big kind of verbal whooping the other day really got me incensed here. Over at the Film Find, we're reviewing new movies and retro stuff and all kinds of things. And if you're a member of the Patreon over there, I'm doing a 31 Days of Halloween Horror. That's right, I'm releasing a Film Find 5 every single day this month to show how much of a lazy slob I truly am.
My God.
And to give all those people some good value. So check out the Film Find, everybody. We'd really appreciate that. That's it, everybody. Join us next week for our Patreon exclusive episode, patreon.com/HMP. Until then, for Bruce Leslie, Sean Keenan, my name is Adam Portrais. Stay super, everybody.
Bye, Marty.